like to welcome everybody for our Google Webmaster Tools webinar. We're just a few minutes after 11:30 as a few more people have trickled in. We are excited to present today. We have a great presentation, one that I think with a lot of the recent changes, both with what Google's put out and as digital becomes increasingly more technical and being able to leverage the right technology as an organization will be able to ultimately provide a lot of value. We're going to have Dustin, kick things off, and you may be familiar with him as he's been part of each webinar. But just as a quick background, he leads up digital strategy at Fluid, does an excellent job, and really allows us to do some incredible things for our clients. At Fluid, am the managing partner and spend a lot of my time in working with clients and ensuring that they're successful in their revenue growth goals and being able to see digital have an impact. With that, I'm going to allow Dustin to talk a little bit about the webinar series overall and how to follow us online.
Absolutely. As usual, guys can follow us on our hashtag, Fluid Webinar Series. You can also follow me directly at Dustin Cederholm or Fluid at GetFluid. We encourage you guys to use those hashtags throughout the webinar. We'll be live tweeting as we go, and if you have any questions you want us to address, feel free to drop that hashtag and we'll see if we can talk directly to them as we go.
So we wanted to start with just a quick historical overview and some recent updates with Google, and just talk a little bit about maybe some things you knew and maybe some things you didn't. So with that, this next screen here, it's interesting when Larry Page and Sergey Brin began, the Google founders, and collaborated on their first search engine, that was actually called BackRub. And that was operated out of Stanford for more than a year. Ultimately, it was shut down for taking up too much bandwidth. Google ultimately became registered in September of '97. And, if you know anything about math, that word Google, kind of spelled slightly differently, is really for the number 1 followed by 100 zeros, larger than I think most of us can easily comprehend, which really their desire was to say, there's an infinite amount of information on the web, and one of their goals and their vision as founders was allowing that, information and that infinite amount of data to be made available, to be searched, to be sorted, to allow for that instant information and access that we like today. And so, their founding letter, and I think this has played true to their company over the years, is that, Google is not a conventional company. We do not intend to become one. And I think that's really been evident not only in how they've approached the search engines, but just as to what they're involved with even today. And we'll have Dustin speak to that and some of the recent updates that they've had.
Yeah, so for those of you guys who follow the digital world, Google is constantly evolving. It's probably more annoying for most of us than it is fun, but we do have to pay really close attention to it, and we have to adapt to kind of follow what Google sets the rules as. One of the most important updates that I'm sure you guys are aware of are most of the SEO updates, Panda, Penguin, Hummingbird, and of course the mobile update. And for any of those of you guys out there who've ever been hit by one of these algorithm updates, it can be really harmful to your search traffic and your brand in general if you are punished by any of the different updates. And so maintaining a white hat SEO strategy is really key, and really I think Google is just working very hard to provide that search engine result that people really want. And so they focus so much on the success that the user is actually receiving what they intend to, that it really just goes to say if you're doing SEO or content marketing or anything that you're doing, that you just kind of work with common sense practices. If you think that a human would appreciate it, Google will usually be on board. And so I think we just need to continue keeping an eye on the SEO updates, and those will probably be what affects us the most. Another recent update was just Google+. A lot of people are happy to hear that Google+ will be dissolved. It will actually be turned into 2 separate products, and I don't think any of us could be more excited about that. Google+ is a great way to affect your SEO traffic, also a great way to do link building with content marketing, but ultimately, as a social channel, I don't think it ever really caught on, and most of us have used it only because Google requires it. So we'll all be happy to see what the next stage is and how we can actually use real social media for content marketing. So it's actually a wonderful thing to hear, so we're happy to see Google+ go. The last is just the operating structure, and this has been big news over the last week or so, and they've just been talking about how Google has created a holding company, which they're calling Alphabet. Alphabet will, I guess, be the umbrella ownership of all the Google properties, and that includes AdWords, Google Search, Business View. Pretty much any Google listing has been sorted out into its own company, and so we're really excited to see how the new people who come in drive each of those specific products. Some of them may go by the wayside, and some of them really may be ramped up. And I think for a lot of us who have our hands in Google all day long, we're excited to see some of the new interfaces that might come. Hopefully they'll be a little bit more user-friendly. And that's kind of what we want to talk about in this webinar, is just how can you use the tools available to you to make the most out of your digital marketing. And good or not, the Google products all are very usable and really are big difference makers as in the product. I don't know, do you have any other updates?
No, I mean, and so we wanted to kind of hit and highlight some of the Google tools. Again, we're not going to try to go deep in regards to the type of companies that Google operates and where it has all of its fingers in, but specific to what we're familiar with in the digital world and the tools that it provides. Some of the more priority tools, the search engine itself, google.com, Webmaster Tools, Analytics, AdWords, Tag Manager, URL Builder, Google Alerts, as well as YouTube. Those are some of the more premier business products. Speaking to some of these, you know, with the search engine itself, we get that there's a lot of opportunity from an SEO perspective that we all seek to, you know, remain on top and be relevant there. Webmaster Tools is something that every organization ought to have in place. It really allows Google to evaluate the overall health of your website, of your domain, of what it's seen, of what you can do to improve, and it's such an easy way to really get ahead. And that's really a must-have that if that isn't something you're doing from a tools perspective for your site, you ought to sign up immediately, and we, of course, would be more than happy to help or point you in the right direction. Of course, we're all familiar with Gmail, which is still something that they find importance and where a lot of people are tied to Google. But as far as, you know, a lot of the tools that are making money in some of their kind of priority tools in this sense. Analytics, of course, they've, you know, updated to Universal Analytics, which is important. There's some paid instances, of course, of Google Analytics as well, and so a lot of options and how you can customize your account and the type of data it can pull. It's a little different than IBM Core Metrics and then Omniture, Adobe's Site Catalyst and Analytics, but it continues to remain the most popular site analytics tool in the world. From an AdWords perspective, you know, this is one that before you spend too much time, energy, and attention doing any sort of content marketing, doing any sort of SEO, AdWords is an excellent way to really test your message, and it's a great way to have quick wins. Usually when we engage with a client, it's, okay, if we're going to do some digital marketing long-term to grow business and bring leads to the table, we usually want to start with AdWords as an opportunity to not only see some new business come in through the door right away, but also begin to see how effective our overall campaign is as well. Tag Manager, this is a great tool they've rolled out in not too long, or you know, the recent history and time frame of Google, but one that allows you to kind of consolidate overall campaigns into single tag managers and allows you from dropping in a code on a website one time and then being able to leverage that same tag manager across a variety of digital platforms. URL builder's key. When you're trying to track through UTM, kind of universal tracking, kind of a method of ensuring that you understand as people hit certain pages where the referrals and source of those visits were. And then, of course, we know alerts, which is a great business intelligence tube, and then YouTube continues to dominate as, the most viewed and probably premier of all video, video sharing of content on the web. Not that it, per se, is the nicest with all the right features, but that's really where most videos become viral or shared, and where you want to spend your time from a search engine perspective.
Absolutely, and we'll focus on a few of these with the 2 stars and whatnot as we move forward. However, we don't want you to think that we've forgotten anything in this, and so what we wanted to do in this webinar specifically was give you a game plan for tracking the campaigns and ads that you are sending out digitally, and being able to understand which ads work the best and what revenue you're actually getting from those efforts. And so we will go deeper into those, but before we do it, we wanted to just mention, if you have time, don't forget to really train yourself on Google Search, Gmail, Tag Manager, where available, YouTube, and Google Alerts. If I were to prioritize any of this stuff beyond the 3 or 4 we're going to go through next, these are the ones that I would really focus on. I mean, email alone is one of the single highest conversion tactics that you can take. The engagement rate is still pretty amazing. People say email is dead, but as an agency, we see the success of outbound email every day. And so that's something that you really should learn the ins and outs of. There's some really unique things that you can do if you take it from just kind of a novice level to an intermediate expert level in Gmail that can impress the people that follow you. Google Tag Manager is kind of the UTM parameter or the URL builder's big brother, and it can kind of help you manage all the different tags, especially your conversion tags that you want on all your sites, all in one place. It does take some training, but it's something I would encourage you guys to get involved with. And then YouTube, video being one of the most consumed, if not the most consumed mediums that is available. There's just no reason that you shouldn't be putting video into your marketing strategy at this time. And so learning Google, learning how to do hashtags, create your channel, getting all that stuff up and going, and optimizing the page itself is absolutely critical for a highly successful marketing strategy moving forward as we move more into the video world. And then just lastly, we have Google Alerts, and that's pretty novice. You guys should all go and play around with that. If you are not receiving Google Alerts on your company name, you should be. And so literally just search right now Google Alerts and set a couple up for the key terms that you're watching and your branded terms. So to get a little bit more specific into some of the big tools that Google offers, first is just Google Analytics. Phil, do you want to talk specifically just a little bit about the
It's interesting with analytics. Most organizations, and it kind of depends if you have an in-house specialist, if you're big enough for that, it's really sifting through the data and doing customized reporting. A lot of the time our clients simply say, what is important for us to know? We can't, we don't have any amount of time to go through this, but help us understand from an executive level perspective. And so, number one, organic versus paid search. So understanding what your efforts are yielding from content creation to any sort of SEO work to, any money that you're putting out in paid search, whether that's PPC or other display online banner advertising. That's important to know because that is, of course, giving you direct feedback on the yield that you're receiving, from those efforts. So that is something fairly easy to look at from an acquisition perspective, and Google does a good job of trying to have a clean cut of where the types of visitors came from and the ultimate sources. Desktop versus mobile is important, and you can quickly at a glance see what the importance of mobile is on your site, what the desktop versus tablet versus mobile traffic is yielding. At Google, I believe the crossover was in July, is now seeing more searches from a mobile device than from a desktop device, which is absolutely critical, makes it absolutely critical for any organization to have a mobile responsive friendly site. But you'll also need to note that user behavior, as you filter for just mobile, is different than desktop. People tend to call more on mobile. They tend to have a little bit more quick interactions. They probably don't spend as much time browsing, and even the way your site's oriented and they come and view your home page and other pages perhaps needs to be a little bit simpler. So it's important for you to kind of not only note the traffic, but then ultimately you can look at that in-page analysis and behavior and the type of interest that mobile specifically is driving. Go ahead.
I just think that for everybody out there, you hear so much about mobile. And so what is the urgency for you specifically? And you really should know that. If you are getting 70% of your traffic through a mobile device, it's probably a pretty big deal that you get your site ready, if it's not already. If you're only getting 20% and most people are coming from the desktop, maybe it's not the biggest priority for you. But really understanding that is critical. And it's also critical for your marketing teams to understand what they're designing for. People talk all about mobile first, and that really is the way things should be developed at this point. And so do you guys understand what is it that people on mobile are really looking for, and are you guys considering that when you're developing your own creative files? So if you're not having those internal discussions, you really should, and this is a really simple metric that you can pull up in analytics to understand how are your visitors actually accessing you.
Exactly. Well, and so a couple other key metrics to look at. Time on page, that's extremely important. Number of page views and bounce rate. These are just some really good data-driven metrics. Perhaps less on the qualitative, what content do they like or not, but simply saying when people come to our site, are they spending time and digging deeper before leaving, and are they spending more than a minute? And that's really bounce rate. And generally, we see bounce rates in the 40 to 55 to 60%, and that's about normal or average. If you have a bounce rate in the 70s or 80s, you got major issues, or the traffic you're driving really isn't qualified. We've had bounce rates for clients we've worked with we brought down as low as 20 or 25%, which is fantastic. You have really 75% or 80% of your audience really engaged, really engrossed with the content on the page. Number of page views is key, just knowing that people are looking beyond just the home page and getting involved and engaged there. And then time on page is a good metric just to understand, how much time are they spending. If this is more of a, your value proposition really spends time, having them spend time digging deeper, really understanding your business, and if they're spending less than a minute, that probably isn't enough time to make a true buying consideration. So what can we do to take that number and begin to shift it closer to a minute and a half or 2 minutes, where a lot of websites are. UTM parameters, again, a great way to track campaigns and knowing what, campaign-wise, not only what campaigns are driving traffic and visits, but what those visitors are doing once they do hit the site, and are they converting, which is ultimately the last one. You want to make sure that leveraging Google Analytics, you code it right, that the conversion pixels are firing on the right actions that the user would take, such as visiting a certain page or being able to submit a form on a page. And so you have a better way in a single dashboard of knowing not only the visits you're getting to the site, but really how many conversions are the site yielding, and where do those ultimately, where are those sourced from?
Just quickly going next to Google AdWords, we're probably all very familiar with Google AdWords. It's one of the things we interact with most when we're using search. And a lot of people kind of ask us, when is it appropriate and who should be using AdWords? And I think that there's a lot of considerations for that. In most cases, it is more of an e-commerce play where you can sell a product, but it works really well for B2B. And there is such a thing as something called in-market demographics. And if you guys don't know what that is, you really should look it up. But in-market demographics is a way to filter for anybody who has made some type of an intent use, and it's, Google has their algorithms to determine what it is, whether it's they visited a site, they recently purchased, or some combination of many different attributes. But it'll actually show you people who are currently shopping. So if you're in the automotive world, you can look at people who've been on cars.com. You can see anybody who's, in our local market, KSL sells more automobiles than any other site. And so you can actually target those sites and deliver them the same type of search ads that you would on key phrases. And so there's a lot of really unique things to AdWords. I think some of the interesting things are just how many people do use it. And so some of the stats here are just the 1.2 million businesses advertise. 70% of mobile searches call business from mobile search results, kind of coming back to determining if your traffic is mobile or desktop. And one of the fun things with AdWords is you can use site links, and site links allow you to put up your own phone number or create different links to internal pages rather than just the home page. It does two things. One, it helps the user navigate to the area of interest faster, and two, it takes up a whole lot more of the search page, and so you can see your brand is actually now a third of the page rather than just the top quarter. And so it's really you need to use those things to the best of your ability and make AdWords actually become a function of your SEO as well. I think it's important, on average, people spend $1 and get $2 in return. So Google AdWords works, and anybody in the e-commerce space, if you've ever played with the keyword planner tool, you will know how competitive some of these words are. And so it's actually interesting. The most expensive keywords, and it seems that every time we get a client in this, they want to do PPC, but the keywords that are going to really cost you are insurance, loans, mortgage, and attorney. What's interesting is you should really understand how competitive your keywords are. It could actually be really cost effective for you to employ an AdWords account. Additionally, within Google AdWords, you can do a number of things which include, remarketing to doing search. A lot of us only do site remarketing, which is when somebody hits our website and then we deliver an ad once they've left the site and are now kind of browsing on the internet. We can deliver an ad. But with search retargeting, we can actually deliver that same ad without them ever coming to our site. And that's one of the neat things that Google AdWords allows us to do. So do you want to talk about the Google URL Builder, or you want me to take that?
No, with URL Builder, and this is, I think, fairly important. One of the things we've been focused on highly here is attribution. And knowing for every marketing campaign, not only what is ultimately driving clicks and views and visits, but how you then, attribute that all the way through revenue around a closed deal or an account. And that's difficult to do, and that takes integration with CRM and market automation platforms and other tools such as those. But one of the first steps, and kind of the basic steps that you should be aware of, is those UTM parameters are unique tags that when clicked, they're tracked by Google Analytics, and it gives you kind of an aggregated log of all of your campaigns and understanding which one is effective. Now, parameters are including the kind of campaign you're running. So this could be we're running a home loans campaign as a credit union. The median that we're using is, let's say it's KSL.com. The keywords that we're focused on, or maybe the audience that this campaign is focused on, is X, Y, and Z. And then the content, this is ad A with the funny guy doing the dance, and whatever it is. And so what you're trying to do, even down to the very level of the ad, is to say, how well is that ad performing? And when people from that specific ad campaign and median come to the site, how do they respond and convert, as compared to others? And it really allows you to get kind of a level of detail with your advertising budget and dollars that you wouldn't be able to otherwise.
Absolutely. And we actually want to really get into the meat of it now, and we want to show you how to use these tools together to track your marketing efforts. So ultimately, step one is just to create the assets. These can be any of the assets you see here. I've included Google Shopping ads. Below are bottom left are kind of banner ads, and to the right are the social ads that you might put on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, obviously. So once you have your assets created, I guess, step 2 is to generate the URL. This is really simple and will make a huge difference for your ability to track your campaigns. And so to generate the URL, all you need to do is just type into your search bar Google URL Builder, or URL Builder will bring it up as well, and it will bring you to this URL Builder form. On this form, you can add specific URL parameters. Those include campaign source, campaign medium, campaign term, campaign content, and campaign name. I use these in a very specific way, and I'll kind of give you my strategy, but you guys feel free to kind of use these as you like. And my really big suggestion here is that you actually do keep an Excel file where you keep track of all of these, because when we show you how this goes into Google, you're going to want everything to be as uniform as possible so that you get good data out. Again, good data in equals good data out. So what you want to do here is basically go into this program. You would enter your website URL or the landing page URL that you want to use, and then you just start filling in these other parameters. So campaign source, and you can see in that image that they actually give you some suggestions as to how to use those. Oftentimes it's going to be Google, AdWords, if you use marketing automation software, if you use an ESP like MailChimp, that's where that would go. The campaign medium would be whatever channel that you're sending it through. Again, email, cost per click, banner advertisement, whatever that might be. Some of the more difficult ones are campaign content. And so I use campaign content to be able to deliver ad-level tracking. And what that means is most people use campaign-level tracking, meaning that if they sent an email out, they can tell you how well that email went. Or if they send out a social ad, they can tell you how well their Facebook ads did. I use campaign content to determine the ad itself rather than the campaign. So if it's Facebook ads, I'm going to know that Facebook ad number 1 did better than Facebook ad number 2. And that's where I'm going to put that in, is Facebook ad 1 versus Facebook ad 2. And that will help me go into analytics and determine, I got 9 clicks from the first ad and only 4 from the second ad. Let's go ahead and turn off the first. And where you don't have that kind of, tracking in all systems. You may have it in Facebook, but you may not have it for CPC. You may not have it for just straight-up banner ads. So there's a number of reasons why you really want to track to that ad level. And then the campaign name itself is the overall campaign name. Don't use this as like email campaign, but actually if you have a monthly or seasonal campaign going, name it after that season so you can track it that way. You can see this final URL at the very bottom. That's what this URL builder will spit out. Everything after the query, which is just the question mark, maps specifically to different fields within analytics that you can sort by. Makes it really fantastic and is probably the best way for people to not spend a lot of money and be able to define an ROI. Step 3 is just define a conversion. This is where we're putting the dollars behind the actual clicks. So many agencies and just marketing teams in general really focus on impressions and clicks. But impressions and clicks don't do a whole lot for you. They don't bring you any bottom line revenue. What they do is just get people to your site, and those people may or may not have any relevancy to what you're selling or you're offering. And so really conversion is kind of the end-all of the conversation. And so in order to do that, there's a few unique tools that are provided to you. Facebook has a conversion pixel that you can pull. A number of web forms and retargeting also have different pixels that you can place. And you'll have to work with the developer to put it on the page or to place the pixel on the correct button. But really that will help you define if you got a conversion and then be able to find who that conversion was and what was the dollar amount that they spent, which is ultimately going to get you to your return on ad spend. One of my big tips here, and I think all of you guys should employ this, I don't see this done enough, especially with teams that don't have a dedicated developer, but just having a dedicated thank you page. A lot of the time when we submit a form, we will get a thank you right on that same page. That makes it hard for us to track conversion because nothing actually changes on the page. And so what we want to do is we want to take somebody on an ad, say they click on your PPC ad, they hit your landing page, which is your click, and then as soon as they fill out the form, that sends them to a thank you page, at which point Google can record that as a conversion for you. You have all their information, their name, their email, and if it's an e-commerce, you'll have the dollar amount involved as well, and then you'll also be able to see that the date and time of the conversion. All these things really help you determine, when should you be delivering your ads and which ones work the best, which ones should we put our budget towards. So step 3 is just defining the conversion. Step 4 is deploy the ads. And you'll notice we put a lot of infrastructure up front. Not very many people do this. A lot of people rush into sending their ads out and they forget to do the really important part of tracking it. And so it kind of comes back to the whole saying, 80% of marketing, or 50%, excuse me.
50% of marketing, works. The problem is you don't know which 50%.
Exactly, and so it's that initial setup that people do so poorly that really makes that true. If you were to do that before you deploy the ads, you'll know a lot more than just 50% of what works. Anyway, deploying the ads, you have 2 options, inbound marketing, outbound marketing. Phil, I think you've experienced, a number of campaigns where we've utilized both of these. Do you want to speak to any of those specifically?
Yeah, and it's interesting. When we talk about ad deployment, we like to try to be as creative as possible, but also highly targeted. And even this morning we met with a client that, speaking with them about this kind of protocol for a successful campaign and ensuring that you're leveraging all of the Google tools as you can. You notice on the left the inbound marketing, so having a healthy amount of direct or email marketing I think is wise. Videos and ebooks and webinars, that's an excellent way to be able to derive an inbound type approach and have people come to you because of the type of content that you're providing. But it is important that from being a little bit more aggressive, from a paid perspective and whether it be seminars or telemarketing, but this is important, that space of where the two collide. Really, for any campaign, you do need a healthy amount of really good content that engages people, that puts you as a thought leader or of interest in the space, coupled with an aggressive outbound campaign, so they can, you can basically be visible and be seen and be able to pull in new individuals that haven't become familiar with your company. Then once you do get them in, inbound marketing is an excellent way to kind of keep them engaged and continuing to see the value of the brand.
So lastly, as we have deployed the ads, we have clicks, we need to analyze the results. And I'm just showing you this one image because I think it's really important to understand the different channels that your traffic comes from. If you notice here, the title up top is called Default Channel Grouping. There are a number of different default channels that exist in Google, and this is why I say you should have an Excel file when you're doing your UTM parameters. If you can match the default channels each time, then you won't get this other. Number 7 is other, and what that is just channels that are maybe miscellaneous or just don't actually fit into the organic search, mostly because they probably weren't spelled the same way. And so the more uniform you can be, the more that data will aggregate and show you the real number without you having to go in and add a bunch of different lines together. And so that's really one of the most important parts of using the UTM parameters and mapping them to analytics. The other thing about analyzing the results is just understanding how deep you really can go. Within each of these, if this were live, I could actually click into the direct, and within that I could begin to see other channels, and I could layer into that what was the campaign name, And so I could start to compare, of all my direct advertising, what campaigns did the best. I could then even layer on that content UTM parameter, which really represents the ad, and I could start to see within this campaign of my direct traffic, which ad works the best. And you can kind of see how you just follow the trail further and further. But just by simply using that UTM parameter on your URL, you'll be able to see the results within analytics, and then you can deliver reports back to both your team and the executives who need it to show, hey, this is where we're spending our money, this is where we need more budget, this is where we can take budget, and ultimately this is how we're going to reach our annual goals. This is the biggest part that I think people don't really understand, is reading the information that they're bringing in. Were you going to say something, Phil?
I was going to say, relative to this aspect, as Dustin said, this attribution is so key. Again, visiting with another client recently, the comment was made was, we have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in the last several months in marketing campaigns with multiple agencies, and they said there's some agencies that make an effort that do want to try to be accountable and send reports, but he said usually they're lacking because we still can't track all the way through the effectiveness of a campaign on, being able to see what products or services were actually purchased and what became revenue. And he said the good thing is everything's up this year and we've exceeded expectations and hit goals, but he said I have no idea what's actually working. And he said some of the agencies I work with, they don't even care or bother to ever report anything. We get no visibility, no information. But they said if we could structure something with a step-by-step approach, if the protocol such as this is, followed in this way, and as we look to analyze results, working closely with the client, we can get from, not only do we know which traffic source derived the most traffic and visitors, but then which, ultimately resulted in conversions or phone calls, and then tracking those all the way through the close, and then ultimately revenue growth. And that's really where we strive to be with our clients, in as much as possible, is attributing that all the way to growth. But I really think that ought to be the hope and desire, of any organization. So,
absolutely.
We have a few more things. It's 12:15, so we want to be sensitive to your time before we do some short Q&A. But from intermediate to expert, wanting to just talk about, as a marketer, if you can begin to get to this level of detail, and it doesn't take a whole lot of effort to get there, but I think you'll find that really you're going to be seen as a world-class marketer that has provable results, that has a direct ROI that can be communicated to a CFO or CEO. Really it's one, job security. Second, it helps you feel validated. And third, maybe a great way to get a raise. But as you look at, this investment of time and potentially resources, it's, there's really not an argument to be made just because the benefits are so powerful.
And so what we showed you was stuff that you guys can do for free. Anybody can do it. Fluid is obviously happy to help where you might have questions. But what we want to talk next is really kind of the expert level stuff, which is taking anonymous visitors and turning them into known without submitting a form. Right now you will see pretty much all kinds of different traffic going to your site, probably thousands of visits a month, if not day, and you don't have anywhere near that many form submissions. And so how do you actually turn those visits into revenue? There are a few tools that we wanted to bring up to your guys' attention, which include marketing automation, something called identity management solutions, using cookies, social logins, and single sign-on. All of these tools are really unique ways of gathering consumer data or visitor data and pushing them into your CRM or even into analytics, again using UTM parameters. Specifically, what these do is they ping an IP address, and so all of us have an IP address. That's how we get on, use our internet protocol. But what it does is it has all of our registration information in the background. So if you ever filled out a registration form to A, get the internet, or B, anything like Experian or some type of credit form, anything like that, it gets stored in the background. And we all have these personal data files on us. And so Once you actually have given somebody access to that IP, we're able to use that IP to go out and find the other information that is attached to that. And so marketing automation can actually do this for you without you having to touch a single thing. What it will return to you is any business, and it'll give you the business name that has been visiting your site, and then how many visits they've made in whatever time frame you want to look at. Why this is so valuable is if you have a potential client who has visited your site, 3 times in a single week, they've consumed a few of the different case studies or gated content that you might have, you can start to actually call that company, and knowing the titles who would probably be the purchasers of your product, you can take a pretty good guess at who's contacting you. And if nothing less, it's a great way to get past the gatekeeper to say, hey, so-and-so has been looking at these sites and I wanted to touch base and see if they have any questions. It's much better than a cold call asking, can I speak with the person in charge of this? And so that's one of the really fantastic uses of it. Identity management solutions take it one step further, and what they do is they use proprietary data that they've collected and from different data sources that they pay, but they're able to actually find that IP address and compare it against different forms that marketing automation can't do, which is just based off of the IP address. And this will start to give you demographic information about age, location, purchasing behavior, a number of different things. And if you map that with custom parameters into analytics, you can actually begin to sort those and deliver them to different teams. So if you have teams that work on different industries, you can actually sort out different business traffic into those industries, and you can give that to your sales teams so that they can kind of daily monitor it, and if anybody flags themselves as, hey, I've visited too many times, those teams can actually go after that. And so there are a number of different tools, and we'd love to go into more detail, but again, being conscious of your guys' time, we just want to drop the seed that this is possible. And for companies out there who, B2B marketers, if you have a high dollar amount, a service or a product, this is something that has a great ROI and probably very much something you guys should begin to look for.
So Dustin talked about this a little bit in regards to cookies. And when we talk about that interaction between a web browser and a server, and cooking that browser and sending that request, it's really an opportunity for us to flag individuals and people that become known to you, and then be able to, serve up retargeting ads and be able to, find other ways to continue to get in front of that interested visitor. A few important things to know: that cookies do expire. They're certainly not foolproof, and it's not an exact match every time, and we can't always have a consistent experience for all people. Not everyone accepts cookies. You can turn off cookies completely and not allow your browser to be cookied at all. And you can also send multiple cookies from the same page, which is important to know.
And cookies, while being delicious, are also a lot of fun. They're just highly effective for helping you get a lot more data than what somebody might give you in a form, and then you can push that data into the form so it goes into your CRM. And so rather than asking somebody 9 questions on a form, you can ask them 3, and if you use the right UTM parameters and cookies, you can push that data without ever asking them for it.
And lastly, as we talk about kind of an upgrade, one of the things we're highly focused on here at Fluid is growth of the organizations that we work with in really an accelerated fashion. And this is a little visual we put together a while back of just simply highlighting, foundationally there's some important things to do as an organization, such as have a website, be doing some advertising, do some print collateral, but as you get into more kind of the enhanced and advanced types of services, a little bit more expert, your ability to generate more revenue and exactly match that with your marketing efforts and see that return increases significantly. And as you kind of look for an upgrade in your own marketing and say, well, what else should we be doing? What other technology, systems, and processes are we missing? I'd love to have a conversation on those lines and simply help point you in the right directions needed.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, what we tried to show you here, there's a bunch of free tools that you should really get your hands into, see how they work and see how they can benefit your team. But there may become a stage that it's too much for yourself or your team and you want to employ an agency or just some type of a consultant. And this graph really shows you kind of where you might be in the marketing stage and how you guys can really get from novice to expert and what tools and systems are required to do that. And so we will be sending this deck out to everybody so you will be able to see this and kind of take a look and see, you know, where do you think your company stands and what are some of the tools you need to take yourselves to the next level. So basically, just to quickly summarize, Google obviously offers a number of free tools that are vital to any team's success. Again, get involved with them, get your team to be certified in them. The more you know with them, the more functional they'll be, and in all honesty, it's just amazing what Google is providing us for free. Obviously, they're making a lot off of it, but it does help all of us understand where our marketing efforts go. The Google restructuring is kind of yet to be seen, what will happen there. I don't know that it will really vastly affect us in the immediate time frame. If anything, I hope to see some of the platforms improve, especially even the Google AdWords. As shopping becomes more powerful, display ads become more powerful, we'll see a lot of different changes in the AdWords group. And for those of us who are in it daily, there's some functionality features we'd like to see, and so we hope to see that be fixed soon as well. Again, we just want to emphasize mobile advertising, how you can figure out if you are in need of it and what type of users are actually visiting your site through mobile. And so just advertising using mobile is a critical feature as we move forward as people become more mobile. UTM parameters are really kind of, in my opinion, the star of this whole webinar and often the star of a good marketing team. If you can employ UTM parameters on every campaign and have a strategy to do so, the reports you'll be able to provide your team and your executive group will improve so dramatically. People will really be impressed, and it's probably one of the single most effective tools that you guys should be utilizing at this time. Follow the fluid 5-step protocol. It's a great way, even a checklist, if you will, before launching a campaign to make sure you have all the assets and all the preparation completed before you actually launch the campaign. Match them with conversion pixels wherever you can. You really want to know if you got a conversion. You really want to try to get to the very elusive, what is the actual revenue? We know we got conversion, but what was it worth? And UTM parameters matched with conversion pixels can help you do that. And then is it possible to turn on those visitors? It is. It's really quite amazing what can be done with some of the systems out there. And so if you want to know who more of your visitors are without making them pass through a form, consider looking into some of the marketing automation programs or identification programs that are offered. So, we hope you enjoyed today's webinar. We're going to take a brief minute and take some of the questions that you guys have sent in. For those of you guys who have to go, we will be sending this to you as well, and we will post it to our YouTube channel as well. So without further ado, we will jump into our first question. So are you ready?
We are.
All right. Our first question is a really common question, actually, and it's, if I rank well in Google already, why do I need AdWords?
You know, it's interesting. You always would say, you know, if I'm ranking 1 or 2 or 3 for certain key terms that I know are important to our organization and that, you know, we derive a lot of business value from, why spend more money? You know, why allow people to click through? And there's a couple of important things there. Number one, if you're in the top 1 or 2 spot and then you also do a paid ad with PPC, it only allows you to further dominate the landscape. I mean, really it's about owning the territory or the real estate on that home page of Google or the search results. And if you're not only owning, you know, top spot 1, 2, or 3, as well as a paid ad, from a sheer brand perspective, it only, I think, further drives home that, you know, you really are the leader in that perspective. And so most people are usually kind. You know, if you're in the search results and they see that organically, they'll click through there. Hopefully they're not just, you know, despite you clicking on your paid ads that you might be, you know, spending $2 to $3 to $5 or $6 a click. But again, from a brand visual recognition standpoint, an excellent thing to do. One of the other reasons we think it's good is because Google, doing it this way, as you're testing new creative, as you're testing call to actions, as you're saying what are people responding to, it's very easy to manage and iterate on Google AdWords campaign and have multiple versions running for the same keyword and say, hey, what are people responding to? Where are we getting the most action? There's a lot that you can learn in Google AdWords that will inform what your long-term search and organic approach should be. And so one informing the other, you'll find that your airstrike or kind of the advanced troops or your AdWords always, and kind of the infantry or the field flanks that will come up, and kind of have the massive impact long term are very much informed by that initial intelligence gleaned through AdWords.
Absolutely. And just to steal traffic from your competitors and find new terms that you might not be ranking for. Google AdWords is a functional tool for pretty much every business, and just checking out what the terms might cost is a great starting point to see if it's a viable option for you. So our next question is, and I think we've touched on this a bit, but how has mobile traffic affected usage of Google's tools, and should I be concerned about catering to mobile traffic? I'll take that. I think, as we've talked, that mobile traffic has played a huge role in both what Google tools are offering, the way that the Google algorithm works, and the way that people are designing sites. And so, again, I think we come back to, as far as you being concerned about catering, first check out how much of your traffic is really coming from mobile. That would really tell me my urgency on how fast I need to fix this issue. As far as the traffic affecting the usage of Google tools, I think it's more just the different areas that they're looking in. And so where a lot of people used to just look at organic and search, now they're moving more towards device-oriented traffic statistics. And so I definitely think mobile is moving the way that we monitor our site as well as the way that we display it. And so, again, I would take a close look at my site and how many people are coming to it on a mobile device. The third question we have is a great question, actually. Are Google tools better suited to target my customers or to learn who my customers really are?
And it's interesting with Google, they've continued to do a better job in the business intelligence and, big data. And you'll find that Google tools actually do both. Number one, as you learn who your true customers are, I see a lot of organizations that will use their Google Analytics to say, tell me and teach me about my customers. And you can even pull some limited demographic information, male, female, potentially, socioeconomic data, but also potentially age if that's tied appropriately and cookied right from various social profiles. But the other thing that I think is really important is the geographical, insight that you can get from analytics. I have companies all the time to say, where should we drop our next big traditional media campaign, of $500,000? They'll look on analytics and they'll see where they're getting their action in what cities and towns and, down to, states and countries. And so it gives you a nice overview to say, as we are getting interest and as people are visiting our site, where are these geographically derived from? And so I think there's a lot of interesting data helping teach you about your customers. And then it is demonstrated with this webinar. All of these tools, of course, can be used to leverage a highly successful campaign to those, target audiences, from a trackability perspective to even the delivery methods through, searching Google and the results there in AdWords, as well as this ability through UTM to track just about everything in conversion. So really the answer is both.
And we have a last question here which relates to that, so let's go ahead and expand real quickly. But the question was, how can I use Google's tools to learn more about what my customer is looking for and wants? Again, I think to Phil's point, Google is pulling in that data. I think using the geography features is a fantastic way to understand, how do they react in that area versus, the East versus the West Coast are very different. People talk differently. There's different vocab. They are, some are quicker to make a purchase than others, and so understanding the geography would be a great way to learn about what your customer wants. As far as what they're looking for, it's really simple to just do a sort on the top pages that are viewed on your site, and that's something you should be looking at on a weekly basis, as well as reporting on at least on a monthly basis. But understanding what are our most popular pages, how do we create more of them, how do we provide more information on them, or do we have other assets that could bolster the activities that are going on those pages to improve conversions. And so I would look at the most viewed pages. The other thing I would look at is the behavior flow. So in analytics, you can actually just click on the behavior option, the navigation, and you can click behavior flow, and that will show you where people are actually entering your site, and from where they enter, where they navigate to next, which is really helpful in determining where are people getting stuck, where are they bouncing, what other issues am I having, and how can I make that flow easier to drive them towards the conversion. So I think just, again, using Google Analytics and even using AdWords, you can use dimensions and search details to determine what they're really searching for versus what keywords are you actually bidding on. And so, again, that's in AdWords, and that's just under Search and Details under your Keywords tab. So those are a few hints, I think, or I hope that we have provided you guys with a number of different tips that you can use today. As far as our time here, I want to just quickly say thanks to Phil for another presentation, and let you guys know that our next month's presentation will be on branding, and so you guys can follow us again the last Tuesday of every month at 11:30, so we hope you will join us for that as well.
Thank you again, and thanks for joining.
Have a good day.